Hello students, welcome into the another session of CS22 operating system concepts using Linux and Unix. As all of you knows that we are discussing about the chapter number 2 called process management, where we have discussed many topics like what is process, different types of process state diagrams, then various types of algorithm like first come first serve, shortest job next, priority queue, shortest remaining time, etc. etc. Now we are about to finish the discussion of chapter number 2 called process management. Two last algorithm that we need to take into the consideration are round robin scheduling and priority job algorithm. So first we'll discuss about round robin scheduling. This is very important for university examination point of view. So take it seriously. Round robin is a primitive type of scheduling algorithm where each process is provided a fixed time to execute, that is called as quantum. This is the main part of entire round robin scheduling algorithm, or in short RR scheduling. Again I am repeating my words. Round robin algorithm is a primitive algorithm where each and every process has given a fixed time. That time is decided by the central processing unit, depends on the resources which is occupied by that process. For the execution, that is called as quantum. That means whenever any process is created by the central processing unit, during the creation it occupies the internal resources of the hardware, or we can say the computer system. Depends on that resource allocation, CPU decides that this particular process is required XYZ short of time to get executed. If that process is not executed within that short interval time, then that should be discarded from the system as it is considered to be an unknown process. So that execution time is called as quantum time. Now, once the process is executed for a given time period, it is preempted and other process executes for a given time period. During this, the context switching is used to save the state of preempted processes. This is something new and enhanced theories into the round robin algorithm. Let me repeat the words. As we know that round robin algorithm is a primitive type of algorithm which has a fixed execution time of interval in which that particular process need to get executed and terminated by the central processing unit. If during that particular time the process gets failed to execute into the central processing unit, or we can say in our computer, that particular process is known to be, is considered to be unknown process, and it is going to be discarded by the central processing unit itself. So during this, if some of the process is executed for a given time interval, parallelly it will inform or keep other process in a queue within a given time period. So automatically the process execution phase get faster than all other scheduling algorithms. That means the time interval between the switching between the first and the second process to get executed is maximally reduced. That switching time is known as context time or context switching in our theory. Let me again repeat the entire word. Suppose a process number 0 is executing. During the execution, process number 1, process number 2, process number 3 and so on keeps in a waiting queue to get executed by the central processing unit whose waiting time is very less. On right hand side, you can see the same diagram onto the screen where P0 has a waiting time called 0, P1 has a waiting time called 3, which is the next highest one, then P2 is 6 higher than 3, P3 is 9 higher than 6 and so on. Now, whenever the P0 get executed by the central processing unit, P1, P2, P3 and P4 and so on keeps in a queue to get a call from central processing unit. Once the P0 process is catched by the central processing unit for running and termination phase, the switching between P0 and P1 is very minimal, so that the context switching time between P0, P1, P2 and so on is very less. This is the main core part of round robin algorithm. The same thing is mentioned over here in a tabular format. This is actually the repetition of the word that I have already speak, where you can see that there are total P0, P1, P2 and P3, 4 processes are executed by central processing unit, which makes our equation called waiting time is equals to service time minus the arrival time. So the waiting time for process number 0, that is P0, is 9 initially, whenever that particular process is generated by the system itself as requested by the user. So P0 waiting time is 9. Then P1 waiting time is 2. P2's waiting time is 12 and P3's waiting time is 11. Now, if you compare each and every waiting time, then it should be sorted into the ascending order. So, if I sort the numbers, if I sort the process, then the lowest consumption time comes into the bag of P0, that is, P1, that is 2. So, the first process which is going to be executed is P1 by the central processing unit, as its waiting time is minimum than all others. So, the first process is P1. Then the next process is P0, whose waiting time is 9, obviously higher than 0 and lower than all others. So, the first process is P1, second is P0, third is P3, whose waiting time is 11, and finally the last process as per our static data, that is P2, whose waiting time is 12. The execution of the process and the creation of process is in a sequence, that is P1, P0, P1, P2 and P3, but the execution at the execution time, that sequence is going to be changed, depends on the waiting time by round robin algorithm. Now over here during the execution, the switching time between P0 and P2, or we can say P1 and P2, is very less. The next one is multiple level queues scheduling. Multi-level queues are not independent scheduling algorithm. They make use of other existing algorithm to group and schedule the job with common characteristics. This particular algorithm is not that much famous into the development of operating system concepts internally, as this particular scheduling algorithm is very hybrid, and even it requires the maximum consumption of the random access memory, that is called as a primary memory. Let me repeat the wordings again. Multi-level queues are not independent scheduling algorithm. Keep this thing in your mind. They make use of other existing algorithm to group and schedule the other jobs with a common characteristics. These characteristics are: number one, multiple queues are maintained for the process with common characteristics. That means into the multi-level queues, as the name is suggested, it maintains the multiple queue or the batches or the division or the section of process for getting executed by the central processing unit. Sometimes there should be the misfiring of the process may happen into the existing of the system. Let's come back to the normal wordings. Number two, each queue can have its own scheduling algorithm. Every queue follows the different scheduling algorithms. There is no fixed scheduling type of algorithm is allocated to the each and every queue. So system and their resources and special central processing unit continuously get engaged by the entire system that might affect the other resources to get slower down into the system. And the third and the last one is actually the benefit of this particular scheduling algorithm, that priorities are assigned to the each and every queue. One example is mentioned very next to this particular line, that suppose the central processing unit bounds the job can be scheduled in one or more queue, and all input output jobs in another queue. The process scheduler, which maintains the entire number of queues, alternatively selects the job from each and every queue and assign them to the central processing unit based on the algorithm which has been followed by that particular batch of process into the system. This is just an example. Don't take it seriously. It's okay. This is just for the explanation. Now, due to this, that means the scheduling algorithms are not decided by the number of queues which has been generated by the central processing unit. This algorithm is considered to be primitive and non-primitive. That means it's a dual type of algorithm where the primitive and non-primitive situation might arise into the internals of the central processing unit. Non-primitive means what? Non-primitive algorithms are designed so that one process enters the running state, it cannot be preempted until it completes the allotted time. That is called as non-primitive. That means once the process came from ready state to the running state, it should be terminated by the central processing unit. It cannot be skipped by the CPU even if it is a unknown process. So this is one of the benefit of using multi-level queue scheduling algorithm. The primitive scheduling is based on priority, where the scheduler may preempted as a low priority running process at a particular time when high priority process are into the ready state. That means that is depends on the executions of the process and internal which is assigned by the particular system resources. It executes a priority based process into the sequence which is assigned by the central processing unit. Let me repeat the words again. As you can see onto the screen, the primitive scheduling is based on various types of priority where scheduler may preempt a low priority running process anytime when when the high time process is already into the running state. That means this is actually one of the disadvantage of multi-level queue scheduling, where the high time process is already into the queue. CPU may access the low time scheduling queue and can assign by keeping aside high priority queue into the central processing unit. So this was all about, we can say that, various types of scheduling algorithms which is used by operating system concepts as per the prescribed syllabus of Saurashtra University. Let's just refer once again what we have discussed as far as the syllabus is concerned. This is unit number 2 as mentioned into the process management. First we have discussed about the operating system, various types of operating system processes. Then we go for process state transition diagram, that is process state diagram. Then we have started with various process scheduling, in which first we have discussed about first come first serve. Then we have discussed about the shortest job next. Then we have discussed about round robin algorithm, and then we have discussed about priority based, non-primitive and primitive algorithms. So all the topics we have covered for chapter number 2, that is called as process management. Now, without wasting more time, we are starting with the third unit, that is called as memory management. If you remember, then at the time of the discussion about various functions of operating system, it have different components like process management, memory management, file allocation, etc., etc. From all that, process management is completed. Now we are going to start about the discussion of memory management. So let's start with unit number 3, or we can say the chapter number 3. In this particular chapter, we'll clear the doubts related to the memory management. That means we know that whenever any process is generated by the central processing unit, it requires the internal memory to get executed. Without the memory allocation, none of the process or any request which is generated by the system or user get executes. So how that memory allocation is done? Obviously here we will consider the primary memory allocation, that is called as random access memory. Up to this, we are just having a knowledge that RAM is the primary memory where the data stores till the electricity is on. Means, say for example, suppose you are working on computer and you have started your notepad and you have typed your name in that notepad, but you have not saved the record. and electricity shutdowns due to some technical error, technical fault, your name is not going to be permanently stored into the system. But if you have shifted by saving your content from primary memory to secondary storage device, then it will be permanently stored inside the system. So all these things we are going to discuss into the memory management. So the topic that we have to cover in this particular unit are these selected topics. After the introduction of memory management, obviously it is not mentioned over here, but we'll keep into the discussion. We'll go for physical and virtual memory, then we'll go for memory allocation, then we'll go for memory allocation, continuous memory allocation, or we can say contiguous memory allocation, non-contiguous memory allocation, virtual memory using paging, and the last one is virtual memory using segmentation. All these are the theoretical concept. All previous topics that we have discussed are theoretically given into the syllabus. So let's start. What comes into the introduction of memory management? Memory management is the functionality of an operating system which handles or manage primary memory and move the process back and forth between the main memory and disk during the execution. Keep this 4 to 5 lines very strongly in your mind. Memory process is a one type of functionality which performs the switching between the memory and disk in which that particular process is going to be executed. Here, instead of the disk, I would like to use the word called input-output device. Every process is designed to execute for a specific device. Not only the single device, that means obviously input-output device handles all the input-output process. Especially it might be designed for input device only, output device only, or even it might be designed for input-output device, both of this. So this memory management handles the execution of each and every processes in between all these particular storage devices. Memory management keep track of each and every memory location regardless of either it is allocated to some process or is it free. That means the role of memory management is similar like a process management. Process management is directly related with the central processing unit, but it is useless if the memory management block has not performed its own task. That means memory management look after the process which is in queue and the storages which is assigned by the same unit. The primary aim of memory management is to check how much memory is to be allocated to the particular process. See, this is very, very important. Every process doesn't require a similar type of memory allocation. Memory allocation is just like a one bunch of bread where each and every pieces can be taken one by one. So that pieces is decided by the central processing unit and assigned to the process separately, which has been created by central processing unit. Let's discuss it more. Memory management module decides which process will get a memory at what time, and it also keeps tracks. Whenever some memory gets free or unallocated, by checking frequently the update of the status, where the status contains the execution of process. In our next lecture, we'll go for something more advanced into the memory management module by discussing process address space. That means how the memory allocation block will look like inside the system. This is little bit required the knowledge of hardware language. But don't worry, we'll take it very lightly and try to give the brief idea about whenever the memory allocation is done by the central processing unit for the specific number of process or the processes, the address of memory allocation looks like what? That is the question mark. That question mark will be covered in our next lecture. Thank you very much students for listening me, and have a nice day.